Welcome back to Legacy Builders, everybody. Today we've got on Mom again, and so she's been with us before. You should recognize her face or voice however you listen to us. But today we're going to talk about a special topic and one that's unique to our families, but also a lot of families out there. And we're going to talk about special needs parenting or special needs families today. So to start, why don't you guys just tell your story?
Yeah, let me go first, just to kind of add a little bit more on the introduction. So Jody and I, we do feel that we have a message to help families who are going through their own special needs situations, and we just wanted to share what it was like, our story, and what it was like parenting a special needs child. Again, I'm setting the precedence that we're not saying that we have it all together. We're not saying that we're perfect. We're just going to, as you're going to hear, this is probably one of the toughest things that we've had to deal with. And it's going to be an emotional episode, and not a lot of people talk about it. And we want to talk about it and let you know that it's not easy. And those who have special needs, we understand what you're going through, and the emotional battle, let alone being able to stay together as a husband and wife through all this. So sorry it's emotional, but that's what this episode is going to be about, because people don't understand. They don't understand what we're dealing with.
Well, they only see the Michael during the day at school, at church, at an event where he's, shaking everyone's hand, high five, hugging. Oh, Michael, he's so great. We love Michael. Well, they don't see the midnight, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., middle of the day meltdown, every 5 minutes needing something. It's not easy.
Well,
There's
that's
a lot, that we deal with behind the scenes that isn't seen by others. And that's kind of the whole point.
Yeah.
Of this.
Well, and as you'll hear our story, Jody's kind of sharing where Michael's at today. I mean, we're going to share some of the stuff what we were dealing with early on. And as new parents, you're not expecting this situation to come into our life. And this is just one of the challenges that as a family that we've experienced. But it's definitely not easy. You see the, like Jody says, Michael, it does have a special personality that he is overall is happy, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes to help that. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that aren't so happy, that we just want we want people to understand. And so I guess for us it started, or you had something, Madison?
I was just gonna say, talk people through like you finding out at the very start of this journey.
Yeah, for us, do you want to share that part, Jody?
Sure.
July.
At the time, I was pregnant with Riley. Madison was about 2 years old. So yes, we had 3 kids in 3 years, and Michael's right in the middle of all of that. And when he was about 9 months old, 10 months old, we had been at my mom's for the 4th of July, and he was sitting at that time and just sitting in the middle of the floor and just like fell over. And we're like, well, that was kind of weird. He just fell down. And he did it a couple of times, and we didn't think much of it until the next day when I was feeding him in the high chair, and he was sitting in the high chair, and I would try and feed him, and he would keep like dropping his head and dropping down and not. I'm like, this is weird. This doesn't seem normal, So we called the doctor, got him in to see a specialist right away. They weren't quite sure what it was, and in the meantime put him on a very strong phenobarbital medicine for seizures, because they thought he was having what they call infantile spasms. And through a bunch of tests and all of that process, thankfully I was home at the time, because we were at the hospital every day, sometimes multiple times a day, doing lab work, testing EEGs, trying to find out what was happening, MRIs. They diagnosed Michael with infantile spasms, which is a very intense seizure with babies.
What was the process of, so yeah, we had to give him this medicine, very intense medicine, but how did we have to administer this?
So we had to hospitalize him for, I think, 2 days to learn how to give an injection into our little baby's leg on his thigh.
So this isn't just a mouth here, open up and eat, like, yeah, we have to learn how
so
to
we
give
had
shots.
we had to be taught in the hospital, here's an orange, here's most people who are diabetic, probably understand that process of giving a shot, but as a parent, and this is only our second child, we're still learning. That's scary. And we had to do that for 6 weeks. There were lots of side effects. He was very swollen, he was very yellow. We dealt with a lot of that, but it was helping the seizure process calm down. But as a result of that, they continued to give him a epileptic seizure medication. And I think right now at this point, we're on our 5th or 6th one, because we've tried different ones and changed this one. It wasn't effective, then this one, then this one. So it's a very long process of all of his adult life, all of his infant life, he's been on a medication. And we have never really known Michael off of medicine. So.
And there's at one point, well, let's just talk about at that point in time, here we are, young family, young parents, our second child, and you have this situation. So you start to process some stuff. What did we do wrong? What is there something that we did? So there's this internalization of, we're the bad parents. There's something wrong. We did something wrong. We caused this.
Questions every time you take him to the specialist. So was he full term? Was there problems in pregnancy? Is this genetic in you and genetic in Eric? And all these questions that you're like, what did we do? Like, was there something with the delivery or something, in the pregnancy that I did wrong? Something when he was born, we did a minor procedure at the hospital right when he was born. Was that the issue? You just feel like you did something wrong.
Yeah, so there's all this processing, and then Jody and I grew up in, we were Christians when we got married, still are, but still are married and still are Christians.
Yeah.
But there's also a spiritual undertone, and we're fortunate that we didn't deal with a lot of this. Maybe Jody was sheltered from some of this stuff, but there are the stigma in the Christian community that Michael's this way, or your child is this way, there's something wrong with you because of some hidden sin in your life, because of some generational curse in your life. And this is why this is happening. And so we had to battle through that. I did anyway, had to battle through that with some people. But I'm mentioning that for those who are listening, who maybe you're dealing with that same thing. That's why I want to say there's nothing you did wrong.
Right.
This has nothing to do with you. This has nothing to do with the generational curse. This has nothing to do with sins of the father. This has nothing to do with any of that.
Life. Can I say one thing? So when Michael was small and I was feeding him at the table one day, and I've only told maybe 2 people this, and I lifted him up and the ceiling fan was going and it caught a little bit of his head, and I held that with me for years. And when we moved to Tennessee 4 years ago, before we left, I asked his neurologist, do you think this happened because of that? I've held that inside all of these years thinking it was my fault. I did this. I damaged his brain. And she said, no, that's not at all. His MRIs have come back clear. There's no damage in the brain. That's not any reason. And that was a release for me to say, like, okay, it wasn't my fault. Right.
And that was important. And again, that's what I'm talking about. We all process these things. What did we do wrong? Is there something we could have done to prevent this? Because this is, we're in for the long haul now, trying to find is there a solution to this now? And I'll never forget the day that it happened. It was on a July 4th, and we go to a parade, and it was the hottest day of the year. And could it have been a heat stroke? Could it have been some other things? I'm not going to go down a conspiracy trail here, but you know, we process all of these things. And so, yeah, so families, we know, parents, we know that you're dealing with some of this stuff. It's not your spouse's fault. One thing that I think we did very well is we didn't blame each other.
No.
We knew that we had to work together.
Yeah,
right.
it was totally a tag team process. And if Michael was having a seizure in the middle of the night, we were kind of both involved. Or it's
So
your
what
turn.
was that process like? Like, did you guys never blame each other or anything like that? Was there agreement right at the beginning? Did you guys have a conversation? What did that look like?
I mean, I think there's always an open door to try to blame one another. I can't recall that we sat down and had a conversation and said, hey, we're not going to blame each other, but we knew that we were a team. We knew that we had to deal with this, and we worked good through it. I mean, we had
It's stressful, and it's when the stress is high and things are tense, then you get in arguments, and you're not necessarily blaming them, but it's just
the emotion
the
and the stress.
emotion and the
Yeah.
situation, and it was very financially draining at times to have testing done for him, to have medications that cost $1,500 a month. And at that point we didn't have insurance because I was not working. Eric was self-employed, and I'm not promoting state aid, but at that point we needed that. And the state came in for our children and was able to help us with Michael and all of those hospital costs, all of that testing, lab work, even the delivery of Riley. I had worked probably 10 years prior, so I felt like, I'm like, Eric, this is not right. It's not right. And he's like, you've done your time. You've done your work. You've worked for enough time to have your money be paid back to you from the state. And then once I went back to work, within a few years, we had insurance. But I just thank God that what came through.
Yeah,
there's no way we could have covered all of that.
No, and again, that just brings up another point: the financial burden that it puts on a family. Here you're watching your friends, your coworkers, church people go on vacations, drive better cars, upgrade in their lifestyle, but we aren't, because we have responsibility in a medical situation that we have to take care of our kids, and there's a financial cost to that too. And Jody had mentioned that Michael's seizures, he would have them. It was a very unique situation where he would only have these seizures at night. So that was sort of good, but it was sort of bad, because the minute we hear something in the middle of the night, I mean, we're up. And sometimes, to be honest with you, we didn't get up in the middle of the night until we heard him hit the floor, because he was trying to walk to our room and collapsed and hit the floor. And sometimes we walk out into a pool of blood because he's busted his nose. He's
broken his collarbone.
Broken his arm.
Smashed up his whole side of his face at one point when he got a little bigger.
Shoulder disconnected backwards.
Yeah.
We don't know how in the world that happened. They say it's not really repairable, but those are the not so fun times. That
I mean, it's not fun, but we have a friend whose son has special needs, and he has to wear a helmet 100% of the time because he falls so often and so much. And I think he's had his teeth replaced 3 or 4 times. So it's not an easy process. And in the middle of the night at 1 a.m., it's a shake, jolt, and then he can't go back to sleep. So you're having to calm him down and get him resettled down, and the next night he can't sleep.
Yeah. I mean, I was reading a statistic I shared with Madison yesterday as we're kind of game planning for this episode, that I can't remember what college or university did this study, but they said that moms with special needs kids have the same emotional trauma as that of a combat veteran. So this is not easy stuff, and I believe, and we're just sharing with you some of the tough topics on this. We're not asking for your sympathy or empathy, but your understanding. And we appreciate those. There's a lot of people who have taken care of Michael and helped with Michael along the way. And your family, friends.
It's also for them to know we understand you. I mean, you can understand us and maybe see behind our curtains and see what you're not seeing, but also know that, you know, we're here for you. If you're going through this, if you're struggling, you know,
Yeah,
we can understand where you're at. We're not all hiding up here,
right.
you know, with life is perfect.
I mean, we tried support group for a little while, but it just wasn't for us. I know there's a place for support groups, and we would provide support for you one-on-one. And one of the things that we found out in the support groups is most of the time was just going around telling the horrible stories, and we left more depressed sometimes with no hope than we did, you know. So we had to encourage one another, and I had to sometimes, I mean, my family and even some people I watch this video, they'll be like, I had no idea, Eric, you felt this way, or you're going through this. It's because I hide it really good.
So tell us, and like, how did you guys keep that hope?
It's God. I mean, if we don't have that foundation.
Still believe, I mean, Michael has not physically manifested the healing completely, but he will be healed and perfected at some point. And that was hard when this all first started happening, and this person saying this and this person saying this, and you should be taking him here and you should be doing this, and we're trying to stand as a couple. No, this is what we believe and this is what we're going to do. We're not going to rush him and believe the doctor report. We're going to, you know, believe what God says and what the Bible says. And you know, it's a struggle because people have their opinions and they think you're doing it all wrong, you know, and we had to deal with a lot of that. And I think, you know, there's a reason Michael was given to us. I always tell people that. I mean, and Eric and I would always kind of stand on that. Like, God never gave us more than we could handle. And he wouldn't have given us this issue with Michael if we couldn't handle it, if we weren't meant to help him thrive and help others see what we see. So,
and it's so crazy, and you'll see as we talk through the rest of this, it's strengthened our family in this whole process. I mean, you're asking, you know, how do we make it through? Yeah, God with our foundation, but we had, like Jody said, we had to choose to believe the what the Bible says about Michael in the situation. We got to continue to move forward and not allow it to, you know, get to us and be depressed all the time.
Well, I mean, talk about just like how you guys really pushed through in the times where you didn't believe or didn't have hope or faith. Because I know even for me, like when you see your brother going through a seizure, like it's hard to believe in all those prayers and all those things.
Right.
So talk about that.
That's where faith comes in. I mean, that's the battle of faith. When you're sitting there watching your child have a seizure, and the only thing you can do is lift your hand to God and see the whole thing with the faith is that this has no bearing on faith. It has no bearing on us. It's not our fault. We didn't hold the why God, why are you doing this to us? God, what did we do wrong? We didn't blame God for this. We use it as an opportunity to build our faith. And when we stretch and build our faith muscles, that translates into other areas that we use our faith in. So the only thing we have left is, I mean, in this situation, yeah, it's tough and we watch it, but we just sit there. I pray. I pray in the spirit. Sorry if that offends anybody, but I would just be praying in the spirit while this is happening. And the only thing we have to do is to believe God that he's going to be healed. He is healed. And we just pray over the situation. And as tough as it is, I mean, ultimately, this isn't God's hands. There's nothing science can do, doctors can do. You know, we just have to trust that God's going to use Michael still in a way. That's the only thing we could do is believe that God's going to use Michael. And I'll tell you, and this is kind of
I know.
Yeah. And so a lot of the stuff that we're talking about right now is kind of the younger days.
This is the baby, toddler, preschool. I mean, we had people coming to our house working with Michael because Michael didn't start talking until he was almost 5. And so we thought, well, he can't hear. Let's check his ears. There's something wrong in his mouth, you know. And what I'll say is he started talking at 5 and he hasn't stopped since. So he's still talking all the time, every day. But he just is behind. He's slow. I mean, Michael is 20 and he's 20.
And he'll turn 20
almost
on
said
this
21, he's 20. but his mind and his best friends are 8 years old.
Next
You know,
door neighbors,
next door.
they love them. I mean,
They love him. That's who he plays with. He plays with Alexa, who's 4. I mean, this has impacted not only us as a family, but also our external family, our friends, our neighbors, you know,
Well,
his teachers.
Yeah, teachers at church. I mean, we still keep in contact with his middle school teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, just loves. I mean, they love him, and even at church, there's some people. They're like, "Where's Michael at?" It's just not a good Sunday unless I get a hug from Michael. And so this dude has more influence than I do in most cases at church. I mean, he just has an ability to reach in.
Well,
On the flip side, though, I will say there are some people who are very perturbed with Michael.
Yeah, you really can see someone's heart when you have a special needs child.
Wow.
And I feel like the truth in someone's heart comes out when I'm out and about with Michael and he's trying to be friendly and I'm like, oh no, Mike, stay back here. And they're like, oh, it's all right. Like, you know, we went to a restaurant in Gatlinburg one time and he was talking to the lady across the way and we're like, Michael, we're over here. And like this lady, and it was right around COVID or right after COVID, she's like, can I hug him? Like he just has made my whole day and made total stranger, but just brightened up her whole world.
Yeah,
because of his personality.
She came from the other table over here to give Michael a hug.
And you know, you would have thought it was his grandma. You know, he didn't know her from any different. But I've been places where he's also done that, and the people are like
make a rude comment to us,
or they turn away, or they give you the look, you know, and
I understand not understanding the situation at first, but
right.
Just talking to the strangers out there, like it is so stressful for the parents to have to constantly be like, no, don't touch that. No, don't do this. Like I ran in one time to a dad. He was a single dad out there when he had a special needs daughter, and she kind of looked over the table and was touching me and like all that. And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like that was the first time I really think I got to be like, oh wow, this is like special needs parenting. That's what parents deal with when they're out in public. So if you're that stranger, just show kindness, please.
Yes.
Don't make the rude comment. Don't do the thing.
I had a double stroller. It went everywhere with me. Michael and Riley were in it. They could never get out. But we couldn't go normal places with Michael. You know, I was home with them and I had the freedom to take them out and do things. And it was rough because Michael would be running down the mall, you know, or he'd be drinking all the sippy cups in the playland because he didn't understand. These aren't mine. It's a cup. I'm thirsty. I'm gonna drink. You know, he doesn't understand. And even to this day, we're still working on stop at the curb and look for cars because there's cars coming. So
at 20.
I mean, he's 20. There's just things he doesn't forget. He doesn't know. He forgets. Doesn't understand. You know, he's getting there. He's a smart kid. But I had someone tell me, and it has made a huge difference in my life, where they said Michael is a door opener. And I totally believe that with all of my heart, that he opens the door so that we can meet someone that maybe we wouldn't have met, or could help someone that we weren't able to help in their life that might be going through something similar or just needs that hug.
Yeah.
We laugh on Sundays. Michael, the pastor, will ask if there's anybody that wants to get saved to raise their hand, and Michael gets saved every Sunday. He raises his hand, but it's amazing how many people that encourages to raise their hand. It is kind of interesting. But so what we're sharing was kind of a younger Michael. You know, Madison may not remember a lot of that stuff and a lot of those things. And you know, most of the time I'm in the middle of the night, they're sleeping, they're not dealing with this. I mean, we're the parents, we have that parental instinct. And I mean, I can sleep through, they'll attest, I can sleep through stuff. But as soon as Michael makes a noise,
let's go.
Yeah. As soon as Michael makes a noise, I could hear him in the other room, and I would be up and running to try to make sure he didn't fall to the ground.
Yeah.
And so it's that dynamic and that parental instinct that does that. Now, man, I'll never forget. So, we tried to look at other ways other than the medicines to help Michael. So we turned to neurotherapy. And wow, I'll never forget after was it maybe about 6 sessions? Like Michael he had this glazed look over him for a long time. He was just present, but he wasn't present.
He was the kid in the corner, like playing with the toys that he didn't understand how to play with by himself. We could all be having a conversation. All the kids could be over here playing, and he didn't have any clue that was going on. You could have a show on the TV. He wouldn't pay attention. It just went here and there and gone. So
yeah, and so he would just he was there, but he wasn't present. But then something changed after so many into so many neurotherapy sessions that it was amazing transition. All of a sudden, we saw this light in Michael's eyes, and even his teachers, they're like, something has changed with Michael. And so we believe that was definitely
we call it Michael is present.
Michael is present now. And so yeah, we let Michael loose now. So now he's running around all over the place. So now what our kids experience right now and probably remember is happy Michael, but outside of home, and then most of the time at home. He's not always, sad at home.
No.
Oh yeah, I mean,
But-
like
He just gets tired, and he has.
as a family though, like Michael, I mean, he's like one of my best friends. Like, I mean, the memories and stuff I've created with that kid and the love that he has for me is just, yeah, he's one of my best friends.
He went to coffee.
Yeah,
we
they
did. Yeah, you've been asking me about coffee for like a week.
Yeah.
But I mean, even just going to coffee this morning, I was like, wow, like Michael has an understanding for my love language, which I was like, this is crazy. Like, he's like, we haven't spent quality time together.
Oh, that's so true.
That's good.
And I was like, Michael has like this understanding of the world that,
Yeah.
I mean, and this compassion for people that we all can learn from, that we all like should learn from.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so Michael, I think, teaches us just as many lessons
Mhm.
about life.
Well, that's a good point. Like even through middle school, we would hear the teacher would tell us so many stories there. I mean, as soon as a kid would fall down on the ground, Michael would be across the playground. He would see them fall. Michael would run over there, bend down. Are you okay? Are you okay, buddy?
Or someone was
And-
crying.
And someone was crying. He would
Yeah.
always go up and try to console them. Are you okay? I mean, he had that compassion.
He would be wiping our tears.
Yeah.
This
He would.
episode.
And in middle school, he would go down the hallway and high five all the students walking the opposite direction. They're all walking in a line, and Michael just can't keep his hands to himself, so he's giving people high fives and just making an impact the only way that he knows how.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool. We actually to kind of see what that impact that Michael has. There's a special moment. We'll post a video underneath this episode of Michael ended up being the basketball manager. Or his teacher, his special needs teacher, also coached
His 6th grade teacher was the middle school.
Was the middle school,
boys basketball coach.
So when Michael went to middle
Yes.
school, he asked Michael. Obviously, Michael can't play basketball, but he loved basketball. He would go to practice and he would shoot.
Yeah.
So he would just show up to practice and shoot on the other end or at the side basket. And he loved it. And his teacher was there. He could supervise, and it was great. I mean, the teachers at Ralston were amazing,
Mhm.
and just amazing. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank God when we moved away.
Yeah, and even where we're at here, our Seagull teachers are amazing.
Yes.
We have been fortunate to have great teachers to help and guide Michael through this whole process. And so we are
Yes.
very fortunate. When we came down here, we're like, this is awesome. And we have more great teachers. But something
Yes.
special happened one year is
It's
Mr.
eighth
Coach
grade.
B, in 8th grade, it was Michael's last game. And the coach called us and said, hey, would you care? Whew. I'm like,
You're gonna give me to tell it?
well, I'll try to get through this because this is another crazy thing. But he asked if he could play in the last game, in the last quarter of the game. And we're like, sure, this would be awesome. So we showed up. Now, mind you, there's on a 8th grade boys basketball game, there's probably maybe 6 to 8 students that would stay after, come to watch
Yeah.
the boys. 6 to 8.
On like a Tuesday afternoon or something.
Any other game,
Yeah.
you are going to get 8, 10 tops of
Mhm.
other students, faculty to come and watch the boys basketball. So word got out that Michael was going to play in this game. So the craziest thing happened, and that you got to watch the video. We'll post some videos down. You got to watch it. This situation ended up going viral. So he,
before there
the
was
teacher,
Twitter and all of that.
Yeah,
stuff.
this is before social media. We had Facebook. That was it.
Yeah.
So what happened was the students caught wind of this. They started making banners. They started making signs. I mean, there had to be 80, 90, 80 kids, 70, 80 students that came with banners. They made a big banner, said, "Let's go, Mikey," that he ran through. We missed it because we were like, oh, he's going to get in the.
At the end, we'll just show up.
I mean, we show up before halftime and they're saying, oh, this is so great.
You missed it all.
But when we walked into that room, I mean, the atmosphere was insane already.
Yes.
And so we're like, oh, this is interesting. And teachers, faculty, they're all there. They're all there watching this. So we had a parent that on the other team's parent started recording this and ended up posting it on another city's website, had 40,000 hits overnight. It was crazy. It went viral. So we ended up, so then before the game happened, before Michael got in, he was supposed to get in the fourth quarter, but the other team was losing real bad, was winning very bad. Our team was losing bad. So they let Michael play the whole second half. And so they were going down, dribbling the ball, and the kids are like, let's go, Michael. We want Michael. You know, they're starting all the chants and just wanting Michael to get in the game. I'll never forget, he made that first basket. I mean, he went back and forth, and this is, you know, the other team would get the ball, they'd go down and shoot, make it, miss it, whatever. Then our team would come down, Michael would get the ball, and he would shoot it and miss it. So the other team would get it and start going back to the other end of the court, and it would go back. The third time back, the craziest thing happened. Michael shot it and missed it. The other team got the ball, passed it back to Michael. And then he made his first basket, and the whole place just erupted. Yeah. It was insane.
There was an intentional foul, I think, and so the
so he ended up scoring.
Here you can shoot a free throw.
Yeah, they called a foul on the other team. The refs got into it, but the craziest thing happened. Like, we're watching this, and kids. So Michael, after he made his first basket, everybody's cheering. So he's running down. Remember, he's a high five guy. So he's high fiving all of his team. He high fives the scoring table, high fives the other team running down there, all the way to his teachers in the corner. The teacher's like, Michael, get back in there. So he runs back and he gets the foul. And then so he's shooting at the free throw. He made it. He missed the first one, and then he made the second one. It just went crazy again. And so I was watching, and I say all this too because these are some things you won't pick up on the video, but then something crazy happened. Like the students on his team and the other team start running down the court crying, like they were just in tears. It was just insane. He got letters. He got fan mail. Michael, thank you for showing us what sports is really about. Then we got interviewed by the news people.
All three
news stations. Well, first one called us, and the school office called us, say, hey, we have a request for an interview. Do you want to do an interview in 2 days? We're like, okay, sure, yeah, we can make it. Then we got another call, and like, hey, we got one for tomorrow and one for the next day. We're like, okay. Change of plans. Can you guys come tomorrow? All three news stations want to be here. We're going to do three videos and interviews all at once. We're just going to get everybody there at one time and just do all three news stations because none of the news stations want to miss out on this. And so it just goes to show, we say all that to say that, you know, like Madison's question, what do? We pray. We just believe that God's going to use Michael in whatever way that he can use Michael. And that was evidence that Michael has this influence and this ability to touch people's lives that I need to learn from.
And we also raised Michael. We raised our children with rules and discipline in our house, and we included some of that for Michael. You know, they had chores they had to do, or things that were, you know, you eat at the table, now you throw your plate away, or you put your plate in the sink. And Michael was expected to follow a lot of that. Yeah, there was some grace, you know, for him where he didn't quite understand, or we had to show him a little bit more, remind him more often, but there was grace, but he still was expected. We didn't treat him so differently
Right.
from the other two kids.
We still expected him to
We
be
didn't want to
disciplined.
show
Yeah.
favoritism towards Michael and let him get away with everything. Because now I think he's very polite. He would listen to me in the store. Please, thank you. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. Just he's watched us all do all of that and watched his brother and sister do that. And it's made him who he is, today.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really good point just with families is I see a lot of families with special needs where all of the attention goes to the special needs kid and the other kids are forgotten.
Yeah.
And
Did you ever feel that way?
well, I love God when we said
Okay.
it. But I mean, and it's understandable sometimes too, because that kid, I mean, they do need more attention.
Mhm.
I didn't feel like that. I felt like you guys created a good, healthy sibling bond between all three of us. And I mean, I just kind of took on an older sister mothering role.
Mhm. I couldn't
with
do it without
Michael.
Madison. I've told her that a million times. Like, she's been the biggest help and the biggest when I'm stressed and when I'm having a rough day with Michael. Madison can step in and help, and she's the calming presence that sometimes I need. Because I have a job and I work and I do Eric's books and we have Michael, and sometimes things get stressful and people need breaks, and she's my helper, has been for years, and Michael loves her dearly.
Well,
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's important to note here at this point too that we're talking about the parenting and the discipline is we also wanted to make sure, like Madison being the oldest, we didn't dump this
Yes.
burden onto Madison. She helped out, and and you can tell us if I'm saying anything inaccurate, Madison, but I mean we would even pay Madison to babysit Michael
Right.
and Riley. So we didn't have this expectation, oh, you're the oldest, you're just gonna have to help us because.
Right. Because
And-
Michael's a little more than a normal child.
Because then Madison would start resenting Michael.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we wanted to make sure that, look, there's not her responsibility to raise Michael. She will help and be a sister. We want her to be a sister to Michael. We didn't want her to be Michael's second mom.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what- yeah. Because there was a couple times we talked about that, like Michael doesn't, and even your brother Riley too. Like, they don't all need another mom. Not that you were doing that, just
Yeah.
So it was clear, like, we don't want to
Well,
abuse that.
and I think that's a different, you don't need another mom. Like, that's a different scenario that we can talk about another
Yeah.
time. But I think, like you said with the resentment, like, I didn't resent Michael, but I still stepped into that responsibility and still stepped into that kind of role as older sister, I don't want to say like mother because I'm not his mother, but like that maternal instinct towards Michael. And so, and like Mom said, it's a great transition to now. Like let's talk about where Michael's at now compared, and like some of the thoughts and things that you've had now compared to when he was younger in that story.
Yeah, so now Michael's 20, and we had to go through the process of conservatorship because even though he's 20, the state thinks he can make his own decisions. He can't, and so we had to go through a process, and it's kind of a cute story or a cute situation. Did Michael actually go up before the judge? Did he go up to the stand?
I don't think he was with us.
He was with us.
He was?
Yeah, I think he had to be. I think he was with us because the judge had to see him.
Oh.
And so we had pleaded our case. We had to go through the process of conservatorship that we basically are Michael's guardian
Yes.
legally now. So it's basically legal guardian over Michael and taking care of all that. And so
everything here, at 18, the doctor won't talk to me unless I have that paper.
right.
Well, Michael doesn't understand what lab means and how to make an appointment, and he can't pay his bill for something. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, he's also at 22, or 20 years old, he's got a high school attitude, the boy
he just
attitude.
finished his third year
Yep.
senior. It was a third year senior, we call it.
Yeah, they have in Rutherford County in Tennessee, they allow the students, special needs students, to go to school until they're
The year they turn 22. So
the
he
year they
has
turn.
2 more years of school, and then we'll have to evaluate where we go from there.
Yeah.
So he's still going to go to school, which he loves. He rides the bus every day. He loves school. But after 2 years, he'll be doing something different.
Yep. So I mean, he just runs out of the house whenever he feels like it to play with the boys next door, shoot basketball. You know.
I chased him twice today.
So he doesn't ask permission. Yeah,
He doesn't wear shoes.
He doesn't wear shoes.
Usually he's wearing socks running through the grass. Because, he doesn't care. He's a boy.
He's got a very independent streak right now.
Yeah.
And he gets mad when you tell him what to do.
Yeah. We saw this shirt. He loves orange and he loves M&Ms. We had this orange M&M shirt. He loved it. And so we found a new one. We down in Vegas when we went to the M&M store. It was an orange.
Because the other one was like a crop top.
Yeah.
Like he's
Had
been wearing it for
everywhere.
years.
Let
Like
it go.
holes. Yeah.
He would not let us get rid of it.
Still
So,
have it.
Yeah. No, I don't think he does.
No?
I kept.
Oh, you kept it.
yeah.
So we found another one, and it was the orange M&M shirt. That was the goal. We saw it. We're like, oh, this is great. But then it had a caption on it. It was just a bonus. It said, please don't make me do stuff. And that's pretty much what
That's his mantra right
yeah,
now.
I think that's his mantra right now. Please don't make me
He
do
does
stuff.
like to help, though. I mean, he is, and don't feel like you can't ask them, because Madison and even Grandma are really good at, Michael, come help me with, the laundry, with the garbage, help empty the dishwasher. I mean, there's things he can do
Right.
where I'm, Mom, like, I'll just do it. It's not worth fighting or teaching or whatever, but, he loves to help. If you give him a job, he will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, basically, we're to the point, and we're going to, start again, financially speaking, we, it's still a, it's still an, I don't want to say a struggle at this point, but things are better now, but we still have a financial responsibility with Michael, and we want to get back into some neurotherapy sessions, and we're going to be his guardian for the rest of his life. He's not going to move out like the other two.
He's probably not going to drive.
Never going to drive. Well, we don't want to confess
Maybe,
that.
I don't know.
But,
maybe a golf cart, but
yeah, I'd love to see that.
He'll probably live with us for a while.
Yeah. Again, we're not saying that to confess that that's what's going to happen for the Christian, critics, but that's just the reality. I mean, that's where things are at right now. And we're believing, we still believe that things are going to get changed, but what does that look like? Maybe, God's using him, obviously. We just told you several stories of how Michael's impacting lives. And, if anything, I believe that we're going to go around and help share stories and talk about this stuff and encourage families. I think God's moving us into a situation or a position where we can help tell our story and help, impact people's lives. And I always had this idea, because Michael always gives the high fives. And if I had to encourage you, people that are watching who don't have special needs kids or don't understand, it's awkward. We get it. We know it's awkward. If you don't know what to do, man, just give them a high five, or not just Michael. Just try giving people a high five or a fist bump.
Mm-hmm.
If they have special needs, it will make their day. You won't, and then it'll diffuse the awkwardness. If you just give them a fist bump, give them a high five, if they have special needs, because they don't know what's going on. And we know you don't understand what's happening. You just see, this special needs kid. And, just try it. If you're, there, I guarantee you the parents will appreciate that you actually reached out and showed a little interest in their child, instead of looked at them like there's something wrong with them.
Well, and I think too, like, if you're in that, like, try to understand. If you're a stranger and you don't, like, ask families, like, what is it like? I'm sure they don't get to talk about this stuff. Like, we're here on a podcast talking about it, and they don't really get to talk about it with anybody. They don't get to really tell people how they feel. So just open up and ask and extend a heart of compassion towards these families. Yeah.
So, I mean, just kind of to conclude, I'm thankful for Jody. I'm thankful for Madison and Riley. I'm thankful for our grandparent, my mom, Jody's mom, dad, my mom, dad, my aunts, uncles. I mean, everybody has really stepped in. And once they started to understand the situation, I mean, there's a lot of love and we had a lot of support. I really feel for some of the families who don't have that type of support. We had a lot of support, whether they understood that we needed the support or not. They helped out, and all of our kids. We definitely, I'm not necessarily a believer of the statement that it takes a village to raise a child, but in this situation with special needs, man, the more people who are willing to help out, and if get involved in a church community, and you'll be surprised at how many people really have a compassion for you and your situation.
I mean, there were things with us where, you can't just leave Michael with anyone.
No.
He couldn't go to a normal daycare when he was younger because he wasn't toilet trained.
Right.
And then he was taking a medicine. So then you have to have all the paperwork and all the rules and regulations. And, so for our relationship, that is also stressful. And when do we get time together and time as a break? And, I think it's made us all stronger for it. My kids are different. Madison, Riley look at life differently through a different lens because they had a brother that they had to watch out for, that they had to take care of, that was a little different than all the other kids' brothers. And they just, even his cousins,
Reese
have
has been
very involved. His cousin Reese was very involved at the school where in high school, in the special needs room.
Yeah.
And when there were issues and problems, they would call Reese down to the room. Can you please come and help with this issue? And because of that, Reese has a passion to be in a field where he could potentially help Michael someday.
Yeah.
It's just amazing the village, that has gathered around to help, watch for Michael, make sure he's not on the street, where is he? And I tell everyone his favorite color is orange, and it's probably because I dressed him in that so I wouldn't lose him. Because everywhere we went, I had to know, where's Michael, where's Michael, where's Michael?
Yeah.
And now it's, when he was small, it was because he would wander off and not know. Now he's a bigger kid. I'll just be honest. Now it's because he is so friendly and he's never met a stranger. If a stranger came up, he would go with them. And so now I'm more concerned, where's Michael? Where's Michael? Because of the state of our crazy world right now and the people that are nuts out there. And I just need to protect him as his mom and his dad, to know where he's at all times. But
Madison, do you have any closing thoughts as a sibling?
Yeah, I think just it affects siblings too. It really does. Like this is a whole family thing, like we're talking about. You see your brother go through those things. As a sibling, you hear the rage moments, you hear the just all the angry moments and all the things that you have to go through. My dad's had to help deal and calm Michael down and then come to a podcast. And right after that, like there's just things that you guys do that we see. And so parents, don't forget about your other kids if you have a special needs kid, because it's tough for them too to see these things. And kids, it creates a whole new level of compassion and whole new outlook on life and people for the siblings as well. So, and then any closing remarks from you guys as well, or encouragements to families?
Just don't forget to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. And whatever that help might mean, it might be having someone come to watch your kid for a while that you trust. It might be, just talking on the phone, just giving you a hug, just understanding, be the friend that understands and can give that compassion, but also as the parent, don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah, and if you're watching this episode right now and you don't have anybody else to reach out to and you need to talk, we'll have our email us. One of us will reach out to you and we'll talk, we'll help you.
Yeah.
So this episode is for you. It's to speak for you. It's to bring awareness for you, so other people around you could be maybe a little bit more empathetic or sympathetic of your situation. And if you don't have that, man, reach out to us. We'd love to help you.
Yeah.
So thanks for
Thanks
for watching all the way through. We hope it helped you, and you got to know a little bit more of a deeper side of the Made family and some of the stuff that we've gone through. And we hope it's encouraged you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today on the Legacy Builders podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you are notified when a new episode is posted. Now go out and take your first steps in building your family's legacy.